I love it. You are our Bitcoin detective now.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, and I had a lot of success actually recovering money before. So now it's like in the last year or so, I'm like upgrading my research and investigation stuff to big players, like the organized kind of big teams that are doing a lot of hacking, which is like one of them is the Bybit hacker right now. So it's like, okay, the small cases are easier nowadays for me. So let's get to the bigger ones and see what we can find.
Maybe because I think most in the Bitcoin space probably heard about Bybit or read about it in the news. But as you investigated, it would be really fun to hear what actually happened because it's so much money. It's really hard to understand that just like one group just got that money.
Yeah.
It's not his like, oh yeah, they stole 2 Bitcoin somewhere or stuff like that. It's like it's a lot of Bitcoin. It's a lot of money. How did this happen, and what have you gathered so far?
Yeah. So what happened, in the first forensic report that Bybit actually published with the collaboration with a few forensic teams. It was like the North Korean, like they call it like DPRK, North Korean affiliated hackers. They call them Lazarus. They call them Traitor, which is like the sub brand of Lazarus. So it's kind of difficult to pinpoint which name we should be using, but let's call it the Bybit exploiter. So the Bybit exploiter have gained access to some like servers or things like that. I don't want to get very technical, super technical, and it is not the most important thing how exactly the technicalities, how they carried out the attack. It's more important for us as Bitcoiners, people in the space who use Bitcoin, to know how to protect against the attacks by sticking to some standards, because like this is what I always tell people: there's a million ways of that you may be attacked. Also there's a million other ways that have not been yet discovered, and you cannot go over all the million ways. So what you can do is to stick to the very fewer standard and best practice work that you can do to just mitigate all the millions of ways that you could be attacked. So that's what I talk about. So it's like they got access to some servers. They did change some of the things you see on the screen. What Bybit was using was a multi-signature wallet called Safe Wallet on Ethereum, and that in order to use that wallet, few of the executives from Bybit, including their CEO and co-founder, needed to approve signatures for money to be spent. And what they did, the Bybit exploiter, what their team did was to show something different on the screen, and the Bybit people thought that they're moving something standard, a routine work procedure, like they're moving some amount of Ethereum, but they were signing a very malicious transaction instead, which was a transaction to change the ownership of that smart contract. Like that's how Ethereum does multi-signature. They do it with smart contracts. This is different from how we do multi-signature on Bitcoin, which is like quite different. And it's offline. It's on the computer. You do it, finalize it on the computer rather than on the public blockchain with the smart contract. So they took ownership, which is like kind of strange for us in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean by taking ownership of a multi-signature wallet? Because like you could grant permissions to anyone you want, actually, and any quorum of signers to be able to spend money. That's how like Safe Wallet works. And why didn't they detect it on their hardware wallets? Because they were using hardware wallets actually. To be more specific, I think most of them use ledgers. Here's a ledger. And because like for smart contract related transactions on Ethereum, it shows a message called a blind signature, a blind signing process, because it's like a hash of a data you sign. It's not the exact data, and the clueless wallet does not know what is signing, and you cannot understand what you're signing because it just shows some gibberish on the wallet screen. And this is something that we could like just take some good hits on Ethereum for having even Ledger says accept risk and sign, because it doesn't know what you're signing, because you cannot see what you're signing on the Ledger screen. And that's how it was happened. So there was a different thing you see on the screen. You're sending a normal Ethereum transaction, but it is actually changing the ownership of the smart contract. And they approved it because they just didn't have enough standard secure procedures. Because first they needed to do cold storage, probably. That's also something interesting. Their CEO said like our cold storage was attacked like this, and like everybody in the Bitcoin space was like saying, dude, that's not cold storage. When you sign transactions, and as soon as you sign the transaction, this transaction gets sent on the internet. That's not cold storage. The cold storage happens on an offline computer. So they were like signing with online systems and signing something that they couldn't see on this screen of Ledger, because it didn't, like, that's how smart contracts in Ethereum work. So you cannot understand what you're signing actually on the screen here. And the transaction was relayed in the network, and then the hackers were able to take over all the funds in that Ethereum multi-signature wallet, which was a lot of money, 1.5 billion. And then they started doing, so I'm talking about Ethereum, but I was like talking about like Bitcoin ecosystem stuff. So the hackers started the operations, and they have been moving a lot of money around, a lot of money with a lot of transactions. There's like probably 15,000 Bitcoin addresses associated with this operation of money laundering at this moment that we're speaking. And it's like, and this happened actually 2 months ago. So they have used only like 15,000 Bitcoin addresses up to this moment to just launder the money, to just move fast. And so others won't catch up to them, like investigators, researchers like me won't catch up to them. And they're moving funds fast. They're moving it to all sorts of destinations. They do coin joins, they do swaps, they do like cross-chain swapping, like they go to Ethereum, they go back from Ethereum to Bitcoin, they go from Bitcoin to Solana, from Solana to Bitcoin. They do all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's like they just don't want you to be tracking them. So that's how they increase the cost of investigating and researching them this way. And they've been doing this. They have, I could say, probably successfully laundered probably about $100 million up to this moment. But don't quote me on that. It's like just observations, not hard fact. And but there's a lot more to be laundered, and which I'm actually keeping a track on. There's a lot of all other teams. It's not only me. There's so many other teams that are looking to this. Actually, there's a bounty out there for this. So if you are able to help confiscate or freeze some of these funds, you gotta get 10% of the frozen funds. So that's also a motivation and incentive for people who want to research more. And if there's any researchers who are interested in this, feel free to hit me up. We're going to talk about this.
Yeah, 10% can be a lot of money in that case. If there's a few 100 millions now frozen, there is probably like $1 billion left to still discover, and 10% of that. I mean, obviously it will be very hard because it seems like they're very sophisticated. It's actually, how long have they been working on that before, or on that? Do you have any hints of like how prepared they are doing that? How long such a thing takes, and how long have they been observing how they operate in Bybit? Because they need obviously information how they are doing things, right?
Yeah, that's something that there have been a lot of criticism towards Bybit, that they have not been the most transparent about. We are not completely sure how the whole thing happened because Bybit hasn't publicly announced many things about that. So there's like very few introductory reports from forensic teams, but there's no like complete reports that show when their infiltration happened, when how the infiltration happened completely. We don't know. Like at the first day that the attack happened, even I was one of the people who thought that, okay, this has to be some kind of an insider job, because like, okay, how do you get access to so many? You need, like, you're tricking a lot of signers. Look, there's five, I don't know, four co-signers that you need to attack all at the same time to be able to actually trick all of them to approve this transaction. So that's going to be very difficult to do. And the only one who could get access to many people in the same organization, it would be like someone from the same organization. So that was like one of the first thoughts that I had. But like seeing how things are going on and what's happening is like, it's probably not an insider job, and it's probably something that Bybit needs to talk more about, and so we could understand what exactly happened and how they got some of these accesses from their usual MO, which is like modus operandi, which means like like fancy way of saying like their mode of operations. They usually do all sorts of social engineering attacks to like get access to some of the systems. Like they send emails, affected like malicious emails, links, things like that to people who work in the organization, and then start building their way up to get the accesses they need. So that's probably the thing that happened. Like some of the colleagues or employees there, or some of the executives got attacked by spear phishing or some kind of a sophisticated social engineering attack to have like some kind of a malware or something like that installed on their systems, and then they started the operation. But it's like I would be very interested to read a lot of details about the attacks, if there's these details, if they get out.
Super interesting to see that. Yeah, and also I think people have celebrated that they have converted things to Bitcoin, but it was just about covering the tracks, or was there also something like, oh, like we want it in the end of the day in Bitcoin, or they just converting it to covering the track? Because I've read some things after it happened, oh, like they are converting everything to Bitcoin because they know it's Ethereum is a shitcoin.
It does have, like, I also think that it does have some sense in it, especially like if I was the attacker, and if I wanted to hold these funds for a really long time until I can launder it little by little over time, I wouldn't like to hold that much money on Ethereum probably. And I wouldn't like to, like, this is also from an investment part of things, because like it's Ethereum, it's not gonna you're gonna lose money probably if you hold Ethereum for a really long time. And it's also that I probably would need better like privacy tools and tool set, and a lot of liquidity at the same time. And this will be offered by Bitcoin better than Ethereum. So it's better to use Bitcoin if you were the Bybit exploiter. And one also other cool, interesting thing about this is that the Bybit exploiter cannot easily launder Ethereum and off ramp it to cash, probably. So it's easier to off ramp Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, and get cash, because like at the end, cash is king, and they will use cash at the end. And the best tool actually to like what is the widest and most common asset that is being traded probably for cash all over the world at this moment, like crypto wise. It's probably Bitcoin and USDT. It's one of these two. Or it's like either one of them, or these are the top two. So it's either Bitcoin, or you swap Ethereum to Bitcoin and then move Bitcoin around, move it through CoinJoin, move it through different sorts of things. So you would obfuscate the track and then go back to, I don't know, Ethereum or Tron or something like that and make it USDT, because USDT can freeze the funds. So they want to cover that part. So they won't be, their funds won't be frozen. And then they swap the USDT easily for cash, because it is like widely, this is kind of a widely accepted things all over the world, and like in Southeast Asia, in Middle East, probably less in Europe or places like that, because like there's less cash flow funds of cash in probably in Europe. I'm not very sure about that, but it's much less than other parts of the world. And that's how probably they move it to cash. So they prefer probably USDT, because there's like everybody accepts it everywhere. Okay, I just figured out that probably people from USDT Tether won't like what I'm saying right now, and but it's okay. And we know that, I know for sure that USDT and Tether are working so hard to stop these kind of operations, and they have been actually collaborating with Bybit under, and also with TRM Labs and Tron under financial crime unit named T3, which is like Tether, Tron, and TRM. And they've been like freezing a lot of assets. So they're doing a good job at that front. But it's like, it doesn't like mean that this is not happening. It is happening. And they use USDT and they use Bitcoin, because these two could be easily, like much easier than others, converted to cash.
It's super interesting because I think we can all learn things from that. What have you actually, from investigating so many different scams and also being really, really clever on self-custody and security, what have you learned so far how people can better protect themselves when they already have self-custody? So obviously, if you have an exchange, there's whole different attack vectors, and it's it's probably easier. But if they have cold storage, if they have self-custody cold storage, where they sign transactions, and let's say someone is actually having a good setup where they have multi-signature. So someone is actually put in the work, has a multi-signature setup. What have you learned to make those things even more secure, and figure out how to not get scammed and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting topic actually to discuss, and it is very important for Bitcoiners. It's much less important for shitcoiners. I don't think that you would have a lot of like shitcoin audience, because like you're a Bitcoiner just like me, and like I'm wearing Bitcoin orange right now. So so yeah. So shitcoiners do not care. It's like they don't care about security. Most of the tools that they use is like they're rubbish. Like I've been experimenting with a lot of tools and software. So I know for a fact that they don't care, because if they cared, they would have better tools on their hands. But they don't have good tools for security. But Bitcoiners, come on. There's a lot of good tools out there. There's multi-signature. There's all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of good content about, and also like security material that you can read about and read and learn from. And the first thing that I would say is like to do this, just learn more about it, because you're gonna need it. Like digital security, not only your Bitcoin security, digital security as as the how do you say this? Like the bigger umbrella term here has become very, very important in the last 10 to 15 years.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.